Hi, my name is Alex and I welcome you to today's video. After more than 3 years, Darksiders 3 has finally made it to the Switch. As a big fan of the first two games, the anticipation was relatively high, so let's see whether my expectations were met. When Fury, one of the apocalyptic horsemen, is summoned to the Fiery Council, the world is already in an almost hopeless battle between heaven and hell. Her brother War is in chains and is accused of single-handedly instigating the apocalypse. Death, another horseman, has disappeared, and Strife, the last of the siblings, also seems to be incapacitated. Those who haven't had anything to do with Darksiders before will have problems with both the introduction to the story and the characters. Who or what is the Fiery Council? What did War do? Where is Death? Why does the hot-headed sister have to hunt down and take care of the 7 deadly sins? Although the art design, which could also be found in the predecessor, is clearly continued with the huge comic influences, the concise coloring and clear structures, it can't fascinate quite as much as it did in parts 1 and 2. The character as well as enemy design is well done, and the sometimes somewhat dreary environments reflect the Earth, which is in a constant state of war and almost abandoned by humans, well. But it lacks that certain something, that something special. Perhaps the genius that Madureira brought along and thus refined the world of Apocalypse. After Vigil ventured into a largely open world design of Darksiders 2, Gunfire essentially returns to the concept of Part 1 for Fury's adventure. Hub worlds filled with dangerous enemies that grant access to largely linear, though sometimes expansive, tubular levels with some hidden secrets. With fresh abilities, you not only get access to new areas, but also more possibilities to solve the mostly cleverly designed environment puzzles. However, if you wander through the areas, you'll already see numerous sections that you can't reach yet. In the course of time, 4 switchable so-called hollows and a throwing blade are added, which not only enable elemental attacks like ice, lightning or fire, but also special movement options. The level design was very cleverly adapted to the use of these hollows, which sometimes you have to use in imaginative combinations if you want to uncover all the secrets. And when you open a gate or grid after a miserable odyssey through the caves and crypts and suddenly realize that you've ended up back in the distribution world you were in tens of hours ago, the quality of the level design becomes clear, and incidentally reminds you of moments in the Souls series. Gunfire didn't only take its cues from the Souls series in the wonderfully intricate level design. The battles are not just a return to the first game either. With significantly fewer enemies than in Darksiders 2, both the value of the individual battles and their danger should be increased. And this concept is largely successful, not only because a clever composition of opponents, especially in the second half, requires a considered use of hollow attacks, standard attacks and especially the dodge roll, and thus stubborn button hammering is declared war. Due to the complex level design, there are problems with the overview from time to time, especially after one's own demise. This backtracking could have been reduced, just like the general returning and going through the already known sections. The playtime would be well beyond 15 to 18 hours even without these imposed repetitions. Technically you can tell that the game was not designed for the Switch from the ground up. Despite the beautiful comic art style, the significantly lower resolution, slow loading textures and washed out surfaces are noticeable. The Switch also struggles with the frame rate, which can lead to minor stutters. However, you have to expect such drawbacks, which do not significantly worsen the game, let alone make it unplayable. The port would actually be rock solid, but about halfway through the game the performance gets significantly worse. In open areas there are more frequent framerate problems, which already affects the gameplay. So let's come to a conclusion. The old and new direction of the Darksiders series works. There are little things that cause occasional frustration, both mechanically in terms of content or technology, but the positive impressions clearly outweigh them in at least the first half of the game. The fact that they took a step back with the level design and moved away from the open world from Darksiders 2 is also a successful venture, even if the design lacks something special, although the atmosphere is undeniable. The combat system could be more responsive when transitioning from attacks to the very important dodges or the use of healing packs, but the battles are pleasantly intense. On a positive note, THQ Nordic is selling the game along with its DLCs for $40. For these reasons I rate Darksiders 3 for the Nintendo Switch a 7 out of 10. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them below. If you liked it, we would be very happy about a like and a subscription, or if you're interested in getting early access to our future reviews, feel free to visit our Patreon page.
Stories, I'm a fool for your love.